Well, welcome back to another Around Mijas live stream, and you've got me this evening, Bill Anderson, and Anne Hernandez. Anne, welcome back.
Hi, Bill.
How are you doing?
Hot and bothered, but apart from that, perfectly well, thank you. I'm not quite sure how much more of this I can take. I'm wishing for it to be September. I really am.
No, it doesn't matter where you are. You just sit and sweat, don't you?
Oh, it's awful. You're wetter out of the shower than I am in it. I mean, I wonder why I bother half of the time. It's awful. It's awful. And even the Spanish are complaining. You know, the ones down here on the Costa del Sol, of the humidity. Not so much the heat; it's the humidity.
It's been very humid. I think it was like 80% humidity yesterday, anyway, and I think it's been pretty much the same today. Yeah. And we're going to cover a number of different things tonight. I'm going to let you lead the way. I've got on my list here the whole squatting thing. I know we talked about this before. What would you like to say to us about this evening?
Squatters. Okay. Well, yes, we have talked about that before, but since the last time, I've sort of taken a further step. Let's say it like that. So it's becoming a huge problem here in Spain and a worry for a lot. So I do think we need to sort of do a little bit more to be responsible for our own security of properties and look out for other neighbours, basically.
Yeah. So what are you suggesting we should be doing?
Right. Well, since my last chat, I did explain that the law is in Spain certainly not on the poor owner. Apart from the fact that it will take ages to go through the courts to remove them, the owner cannot enter. They cannot disconnect the utilities. They can't change the locks, etc., because they could potentially be done for trespassing. There is a little trick, though. I mean, you could tell a little porcupine, let's say, a very mild white fib more than anything,
right.
And tell the electricity company that you're going to be absent for the next 6 months or something. So you want to reduce the input on your property of the electricity to an absolute minimum, not disconnect. You're just reducing it to an absolute minimum. So it will just annoy the squatter more than anything. They'll put one light on in the kitchen, for example, then put a light on in the lounge, and poof, everything goes out. It's a suggestion. I don't know, and it's certainly not illegal to do. Although you do have to tell a little bit of a fib to get that done.
Does that also involve changing the fuse box, though, Anne?
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you've got one of these new digital fuse boxes that they put in, I think you can do it just online, actually.
All right. Okay.
Otherwise, you have to phone and they would have to do it over the telephone and sort it out for you. But it's not impossible to do. It's not difficult. And you've not then broken the law by disconnecting or stopping to pay the electricity.
Sure.
I mean, there are also certain companies that will guarantee they can get rid of the squatters by you paying them usually a fair amount of money. Right. They very carefully tread the line of the law. They're just about on the edge of it. Let's put it like that. But they do seem to function. And sometimes, obviously, in the long run, the payment up front is going to be cheaper than the payment 6 months to a year down the line when you've got all of your utilities you're still paying for, the damage to your property, etc. It might be cheaper at the beginning to do something like that, but not everybody's got the money up front to do it, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, if they're not here and they manage to get rid of the squatters, they're then going to take steps to make sure the whole thing doesn't just happen again. Absolutely,
yeah. Well, obviously, you would then, once you've got them out, you'd have to have all the locks changed again. You've got to look at doing sort of an inventory of the damage that's been caused. You've got to itemize everything that you need to replace, to redo, paint, this, that, and the other, and then present another denuncia, as I'm told by the Guardia Civil, right. Because it would add then to that squatter's file, so to speak. So whilst they might have 20 previous convictions for squatting on properties, perhaps this 21st one would be enough to send them to prison if they were caught doing it again. I can't guarantee it would be, but that's what I was told by.
Yeah, I mean, what I've heard about this, and this is since we last spoke, Anne. But you know, people are making sometimes these denuncias And what they're saying is nothing happens. I don't know whether that's true or whether they've just made it too late or whatever. That's what they're saying, and I can't argue with them, or that's the feeling.
It does seem that not a lot happens, but as I'm saying, the law in Spain, I'm afraid, is seemingly on the side of the squatters. And these squatters are not silly people, they often work in gangs and they know the law inside out. And the COVID travel restrictions, as I said last time, have limited the time that people can spend maybe in their second home here. So there are more homes that are unoccupied, for squatting. I do understand, financial situation with a lot is more difficult than ever before here. So there are going to be more people looking for paying no rent or occupying a property. Yeah. But to illegally just take over someone's property, I can't think of anything worse. It must be absolutely soul destroying. It really must be.
Yeah, and the feeling of well, first of all, insecurity. When people haven't been here and wondering if everything's okay, and secondly, this feeling of helplessness because not many people over here know how the Spanish law operates.
Absolutely,
or people who have properties here don't necessarily know, and I think everybody is concerned about getting into legal action, not knowing how much this whole thing is going to cost.
Quite a lot it can do. Obviously, you need, first and foremost, if you are going to be absent here, you need to appoint a power of attorney, because if it's not you as the owner, then the only person that can make a denuncia is an official power of attorney. Yeah, so you need to appoint somebody, and a lot of them do not know. So the time lapses for the police to be able to enter the property, to actually tell them to go. Then it has to go to court, and that's when it takes seemingly a lifetime. Yeah.
And of course, it is Spain, so that power of attorney has to be a piece of paper, doesn't it? It's like,
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not good just a scribbled piece of paper that you've signed. No, it's got to be a proper power of attorney. Otherwise, it can't be accepted. And the police cannot enter the property otherwise. You can leave an authorization with a neighbor and a set of keys. Obviously, as I said, keep your terraces swept, keep your letterbox emptied, install records that some people don't like, but they install an alarm. Obviously, give the dates to a trusted friend, your president of your community, something like that, of your dates of absence, so that they can be a little bit more aware. There are things you can do to prevent, as I mentioned last time, but if they want to enter, they're going to, aren't they? Let's be serious. It's like locking your car. We're just or somewhere else.
Sure. Right, and I guess it's partly related to what you're talking about here with the issue of squatters. But you've been having some discussions elsewhere, haven't you, about another theme related though?
Yes, and yes. I have spoken and now have permission and have joined. Sorry, I've got something popped up on my screen, and have joined the Neighbourhood Watch organisation, which has been going since the 60s. I think anybody that's Northern European, Scandinavian, Dutch, British certainly, and the Americans will have heard of it, but it's virtually unheard of here in Spain. There's not that many. And I am setting up in my urbanisation what will be the first neighbourhood watch scheme in all of Mijas, which a little bit of a feather in their cap. But it's a totally voluntary service. There's no money involved. We cannot, as per the statutes of the organisation, you cannot charge people to become a member. So you can't discriminate against anybody. If they'd like to make a donation to cover any overheads, thank you very much. So that would be lovely. But it is said to reduce crime by up to 26%. So, if you think of an urbanisation that's perhaps got 500 properties, if only one person in each of those properties is keeping a lookout for everybody else, you've got 1,000 eyes looking at you, and it's going to give somebody a little bit, what have I come in here? Everybody is looking at me, everybody's watching. There'd be signs on the roads, there'd be stickers on the windows of the properties. Obviously, I'd send out a newsletter, monthly or 3 monthly newsletter, alerting as well, giving guidance. A lot of them leave signs, let's say, to check that the property is in fact empty, vacant. They'll put stones by the front door. And if they've not been moved within a couple of days, burglars do the same, or they'll put a chalk mark or something like that. So it's things like this we need to, a box or something, you know, it's things like this that we need to look out for. It's not an active patrolling around the communities or your apartment block. No, it's purely done by telephone, basically, and by people keeping an eye out.
Right.
So yes, so I do have permission to do it here, as I say, the first in Mijas, and I just hope all of the neighbours here on the urbanisation where I live will support it. I've spoken to quite a few that do understand it, and they're all in favour of it. And whilst the mayor and the chief of police said they didn't fully understand it, they know me, they trust me, so go ahead and let's do it. I mean, it's not going to hurt, is it?
So if people wanted to do something similar in their communities, do they each need to go and get permission, or is there a kind of centralized way that they can do this?
In Spain, basically, it is a recognised organisation, a fully legally constituted organisation here, and they also give information. Obviously you've got data protection, so you need the permission of the people to share their details. I mean, I'm going to do a WhatsApp group. In the UK, I was a member of a neighbourhood watch for the little village I lived in. It was just a couple of streets and cul-de-sacs. We didn't have WhatsApp in those days, so we had a telephone tree, which is fine. We could still have that nowadays for those that don't use a WhatsApp or have got a foreign telephone number or something without WhatsApp. Emails, contacts like that, but it's got to be freely shared amongst those that are participating in it, the members, let's call them, in inverted commas.
Sure.
So you would, I don't know, we could have a Facebook group that's closed and very private, as I say, newsletters, stickers on their windows, all sorts of things like this, signs in the road. So everybody will know that, people are looking at you, basically. Whatever you do is not going to go unnoticed. It's just caring for one another again. And, I think with regards to the lack of this law in Spain to protect the poor owners, I think it's the least we can do for one another.
Sure. So, I mean, probably a good way to, if communities want to take this ahead, probably it should be sort of headed off by let's just say the president of the community. Would they be able to get in touch with you and just to get some advice on the do's and don'ts?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got people here now because we've got a squatter in our community, unfortunately, who's being very threatening as well to people, and people are frightened. And there's some elderly people that only just now have, with COVID and everything, dared to come out of their properties almost, they've only just dared to venture out into the public. They're now even more scared to do so because they fear that this squatter is going to be abusive to them. Or that another squatter is going to jump into their property when they're out. They're really quite frightened, and it's awful to think that there's no law here that will cover us to do this. So, like I'm saying, we've got to rely upon one another, to help out. I mean, these squatters that we've got that moved in, luckily enough, a neighbour that was sort of caring for the property had 2 days before been into the property, and he happened to notice 2 days later, obviously, that there were some lights on. 9 o'clock in the evening, he called the police. They came. They told them to leave. They left. 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 hours later, they returned. By then, they had got false contract, sets of keys, etc., etc., and the police couldn't do anything about it because this neighbour did not have any sort of formal authorisation or power of attorney. So it had to wait for them to appoint a solicitor to be able to do something.
Yeah, and neighbours may not have all
more than anything. Like you said earlier, they don't exactly, as foreigners, we don't exactly know how we should sort of conduct ourselves here in Spain unless someone tells us. These are just not things that we think of.
Yeah, so it's a very kind of informal setup then, Anne. You don't get to walk around with a yellow vest and a cloth.
No, you don't. You don't go out like that. No. But, I mean, also here, don't forget, you're saying there doesn't seem to be a lot done. The month of August ought to be deleted from the Costa del Sol calendar. I say this every year because public services are working to an absolute minimum. And the ports here are closed until the end of August. So you're not going to get any joy whatsoever. So you've already lost a month. So if it's summer, you know, it's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so we don't have any. We've just got a hi, Bill and Anne from Anne McConnell, whom I'm sure you know.
Hi.
Hi, Anne. So I think this is a very interesting development, and I think for me this sounds as much of an awareness raising exercise as something physically happening. It's so that people, you know, really wander about with their eyes and ears open, and look at what's happening within their own communities.
Yeah, and drop the "I'm all right, Jack" attitude. Let's care for one another. That's basically all it's about. And as I say, if they can spare a few euros when they want to join, then thank you very much. That would be very welcome, because there will be initial overhead costs, obviously.
Yeah.
Not necessarily ongoing, but you know, the stickers for the windows and the paperwork and things like that. And also, I mean, I've been contacting local companies that I think could help. So you've got alarm companies, insurance. Now, interestingly, if you inform your insurer, your health insurer, that you have squatters, your health insurance is not valid. They will not cover anything. So that's a bit difficult. But even so, window fitters, installers of the rejas, the grills, some property companies that offer property maintenance. They'll come round and sweep your front terrace or check on your property on a regular basis, those sort of things.
Right.
Locksmiths, etc. Now, I'm quite happy to share the contacts I've already got, because they're tried and tested, and you know, here on the Costa del Sol. So if anybody wants to contact me, that's fine. But I'm hoping that from them they can offer a small commission, let's say, or a small sponsorship, even if it's only 50 euros, and it should just about cover the cost of initially setting it up. But with the right input and well-meaning and very active volunteers, I really think it can be quite a worthwhile prevention.
Yeah, and Daniela Venk has just also made a comment about, you know, making sure you have a property managers if you're an owner living abroad, and it's really important. She's saying, for example, they do weekly, monthly, I suppose it depends on the owner's inspections, and they know what to do when they observe something that isn't normal in a property, and they are key holders and can access a property at any time. So I think, you know, we're all for saving money, aren't we? But as you've said very clearly, you don't save money when you've got to take this to the legal services.
No, it's very costly.
So paying a small amount monthly or yearly could end up saving you a lot of money if you have this problem.
Damage. But I mean, as Daniela says, a property management company, it doesn't have to be that. It can just be a friend or a neighbour that's happy to do it for you. Who can also have a power of attorney, because that property manager, if they don't have a power of attorney, have no more clout than you or I. You know, they can't make any denuncias if it's an absent owner.
Yeah. And Anne McConnell has also just made the comment, we need a bit more humanity. And I think this is what you were saying. That, well, the I'm all right, Jack attitude actually helps people who want to get into this illegal occupation of property. But they know that nobody's going to care.
I think it takes a horrible experience to see one of your neighbour's properties moved into in such a way as this, for them to actually sit up and realise, whoa, this could have been my house. And then perhaps, you know, it's a bit like Brexit. And I know we're going to go on to something about Brexit in a minute, but it's a bit like that. You know, that's not what I voted for. Well, yes, it is. That's exactly what you voted for, and it is going to affect you. You know, so let's all. I mean, and actually, when I got my MBE bill, I think I mentioned that I still don't believe I'm worthy of it. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful honour. But all I've done is help people and shown compassion and care and kindness to my fellow Brits, basically. And that's all I'm asking people to do with a neighbourhood watch. You know, just not to be so selfish with your eyes closed, and let's look out for one another. And hope, I mean, you know, karma, it would come round to them if you were in that same situation. Let's hope.
Sure. And you know, you were saying about a little bit of sponsorship or whatever, but you know what? If this is going to benefit all of the residents in a community, surely all of the residents could put 10 euros a piece in to help to pay for, as you say, stickers or whatever, phone or I don't know what. It wouldn't need to be an expensive thing, you know.
No,
And
absolutely not.
if you've got 50 properties and they all put in 10 euros a piece to help out with this, it could be done very simply, couldn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, it could. And depending on the size of your community, obviously, it could be from really relatively very cheap to rather more expensive. But like I said, if we've made the initial contact with the companies that are going to then make special offers, a collective offer to all members, I'm quite happy to share them with anybody, you know, so that they don't have to do that for themselves. You know, print firms, the more work they get, the cheaper they're going to be charging. So let's share this.
Sure. Okay, Anne, let's go on to the dreaded B word.
Brexit. Yes.
There's a C word. The C word we don't mention.
No.
We also have the B word, the Brexit word. What's happening these days, Anne?
Well, what's happening nowadays? Well, things are still going on. People are still unsure of what it involves. There's still lots of questions about, I haven't got my TIE. Do I still need to get it? I'm waiting a long time at the police station for an appointment to pick it up. That is true, depending on where you live.
Sure.
Those that are applying for visas in the UK, they don't seem to realise, certainly the London Spanish consulate doesn't seem to be telling people that this is just permission for you to go to Spain to apply for your residency, your TIE, and they come here thinking they've got 3 months. And it's all done, but they don't. You know, within that 3 months and a month of being here, they've got to apply for the TIE. They don't seem to realise that. I fortunately intercepted one lady who said she'd had her visa for now 2.5 months, and I said, okay, and you've got your TIE, you're waiting. Oh no, I didn't know that. I've got my visa. That's enough. I've got this stamp in my passport. Fortunately, it was just in time. Otherwise, she would have had to go back to the UK and reapply for another visa.
Right.
Because it is only valid for 3 months, but they're not being told that.
Oh, yeah.
Again, they will say, you didn't ask, and I'm sorry. You know, again, ignorance is not an excuse in the eyes of the law, I suppose, but let's assume everybody is as unaware as the rest.
There are also some very mixed messages coming out from, I read today or yesterday, some schools, some universities, some other organizations, usually public organizations, are saying you need to have the TIE, the green certificate of residency as a EU citizen is not valid anymore.
I've got 2 universities that I could quote on that. Yes, that is true. One is in Madrid and one is in Murcia that I'm taking further because, yeah, people are saying, just get the TIE, why not? Okay, that's fine, but it is still optional and we cannot be condemned for something that is not mandatory. They are wrong in the information. Resident. And in one instance, instead of paying 1,000 for the course, they've got to pay 10,000. I mean, it's a huge difference.
Because the class is non-resident.
Yeah, and they just will not budge. I mean, it's ridiculous. There is a document you can sign that you can download, sort of like the declaration statement that the Spanish government offered. But seemingly, one of these universities just doesn't want to budge. They don't want to know. Let's wait and see what happens. But I have taken that up with the authorities, because it's wrong.
These are public bodies.
Yeah.
You can understand a private employer being confused about this and saying you need your TIE if you're going to work for me. Okay, it's not correct, but you could understand it. But these are public bodies. They don't really have the right to make up the rules for themselves.
They don't have the right to make up the rules for themselves, no, but I can only think that the information from on high has not filtered down to them correctly. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the other instance I could mention on the Brexit front is the exchange of driving licenses. Nothing was told to us at the time, pre the 30th of December 2020. If you were still awaiting your residency, obviously your card, you could not exchange your driving license. If you had an NIE, that's fine. You could register your intention to do so. And we were given until the end of June, by which time we were supposed to effect the actual exchange. They extended that to the 31st of December. That's wonderful. you can drive on your UK driving license as a British resident here, beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement, not of a visa, until the 31st of October. That's fine. But nobody told us, in the meantime, if your driving license expires, do not renew it, because that invalidates your intention that you registered before the end of December.
Yeah, and you said that's because your new license will not have the EU crest on it.
It's not an EU license, that's correct.
It's not an EU license, so you're no longer swapping an EU license for a Spanish one.
That's it. And they cannot do that. They cannot exchange a non-EU driving license just as an exchange for a Spanish one. So again, they've got to take their driving test. Or let's hope for a further agreement between the UK and Spain. I'm not too hopeful on that, to be truthful, because those negotiations have been going for ages. I'm just thinking, I think the negotiations were that you did not need a practical test rather more than the theory. So the theory probably still might have to be sat. You can do that in English, however. And I mean, that's not wrong. We should know the theory of driving here in Spain. That's quite right. But the practicalities is something else.
Let's be honest, most of us from the theory side, and there are things that are different between here and the UK. Most of us learned it as we went along, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Of course we did. I mean, I've been driving for, I don't know, nearly 50 years. Okay. And I mean, I'm fluent in Spanish. I certainly don't think I'd be able to drive past one here. I mean, look at how they maneuver around a roundabout. You've got to learn how to do that, and that's not very British. You've got to remember that your indicator. I'm being very facetious here. You've got to remember that your indicators are just for hanging your little crucifix on. They don't actually go up and down and work. Let's be serious. You can tell a Brit abroad instantly because they always indicate.
Use their indicators, I know.
It's true, isn't it? And I cannot get out of the habit of indicating, I must be honest.
I know. And although my wife, Vicky is Spanish, she's very much into indicators. And there's odd occasions. I'm pretty good with it. She'll say, indicate. You need to indicate. Yeah. You're right.
I mean, and even worse. I mean, here in Spain, you'll see, and I'm always fearful of it. Mums pushing buggies with a baby inside in front of them, and they're on their mobile phone, not looking at all. So they push the baby out into the road, and you think, whoa. You would at least think you'd look the opposite, to look left and look right. You look right and then left, don't you? But you would think that they'd give a cursory glimpse, wouldn't they, rather than push the baby into the road. And often at a junction, your traffic lights will turn green, and as you're going to turn right or turn left, the pedestrian traffic lights are also green. So you've got to come to a grinding halt, and whoa, someone didn't quite get these timed correctly. And also you get the zebra crossings just on an exit from a roundabout.
It's absolutely. Yeah. So, and on this thing about people not changing their licenses, and you have very specific examples of people who have renewed their license because it was running out, and then being denied the exchange. And the other side of that is if they don't renew their license, is that going to be a problem with?
Well, apparently in Spain you can renew an expired driving license now. I did ask this at the time. I received the usual Spanish shrug of the shoulders. No disrespect to the Spanish, but if they don't know the answer, it's "moo," that sort of thing. And I said, so if they were stopped by the police, if they were involved in an accident, would the police turn an equal blind eye as you are to the fact that their driving license expired? I mean, it could be from January to the end of October, for example, 10 months later. And would their insurance still be valid if they were involved in an accident? I rather fear not, seriously. So, I mean, if you need to exchange your driving license, do it as quickly as possible, but at least before you renew your British one.
Let's be honest. Insurance companies are always looking for a reason not to pay out.
Absolutely. Oh, of course they will.
If someone's license is expired, I don't think they're going to say, it doesn't matter, we'll just pay out anyway. And Debbie, who was on with us a couple of weeks ago, sums up this whole thing. Brexit is a minefield.
Totally.
Have you stepped on many mines?
I have, yeah. Have you? I step on one a day. I seriously do. there's another little gem creeps out of the woodwork all of the time. And I mean, people say, but I didn't vote for this. And I think, well, hello, you did. And please don't be telling me that, because it's really making you look more stupid than ever, because you didn't know what you were voting for.
That's more the point, Anne, isn't it? That people didn't know what they were voting for.
No, they didn't. They fell foul of the political lies. I'm sorry to say, they really did.
Yeah, we need to control immigration in the UK. Let's vote for Brexit. We're going to have 300 million a week going into the NHS. Let's vote for Brexit. And actually, they didn't think about what was going to stop for them.
No change for any Brits living abroad. Everything was going to continue swimmingly, as wonderful as ever. No, please, really. No.
Okay, and there's one other thing that you mentioned to me, and I have to say I hadn't heard about this. The Digital Nomad.
Yes, the Digital Nomad. Yes. Now, this is a visa that Spain has been negotiating for quite a while. I just didn't realize until the other day how far along its process of being actually applied it was. And it's now had draft approval, which is good. I have to read about this because this is new to me. So we know about the visas that are available at the moment, the normal type of ones that permit a third country national, such as we are. That sounds horrible, doesn't it? But that's what we are, you know. Not from a third country, though the way things are going in the UK, I'm beginning to wonder, seeing all the supermarket shelves empty, etc., etc. But okay, that's again me being facetious, people. But okay, to reside here in Spain, they are preparing a different type of visa, and it's for remote workers. Otherwise, they're calling it the Digital Nomad. Let's put it like that. Okay. It has draft approval, as I say, and its aim is obviously to attract sort of entrepreneurship here in Spain, to attract investment here. And the draft law that was approved on the 6th of July also has tax incentives, which is good. You know, there'll be benefits. So it sounds like it's a win-win situation, to be truthful. So those teleworkers who can be foreign employees for a company outside of Spain, but who work from within Spain,
right,
and foreign professionals working remotely with an 80% income or more from foreign companies can apply for this visa, and they can apply to live here for up to 2 years. It might be renewable, I don't know, but at the moment they're saying up to 2 years. But as I say, it's when it comes into the reality, but it's quite heartening that they've actually draft approved it. So let's hope it works, because that will be quite a salvation for a lot of people, actually.
So is the Digital Nomad the official name of this visa? Or
no, I think that's what I'm calling it. I think they're called remote workers or teleworkers or something. Remote workers. Yeah. So Digital Nomad just sounds nice, doesn't it? It has a certain ring to it.
I always wanted to be a nomad. So really, at the moment, it's a case of wait and see and follow what is coming through from this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, fingers crossed. Let's see, because I do think that would help a lot of people. I really do. Other than that, I mean, if they need any further information on anything we've talked about, then please get in touch with me. More than happy to talk or help anybody, or get in touch with you, who can then relay it to me or anything like that. I mean, as I say, Brexit every day is creating issues for certain people, and we are, as I've said already, we've sort of morphed from being an informative group dealing in facts only, sort of dispelling the rumours and the scaremongering, to then becoming experts in COVID, which we're not, but we've had to learn how to be. To now being sort of an action group, we're actually campaigning to put right some of the wrongs here, such as the university one that you mentioned. And I do believe we're the only group here in Spain that's actually taken real life cases to the authorities to try and resolve. So please get in touch with us.
Yeah. And you know, if I can't imagine why, but if you don't know how to get in touch with Anne, you can certainly send a message to me, and Anne and I communicate fairly regularly. So you know that there's no problem. We can pass it on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and we're not just a simple little Facebook group. We're an association, a properly affiliated legal association. We have an AGM, etc., and a proper team, a committee. And we have now probably nigh on 29,000 members. It's certainly in excess of 28,000.
Right. Yeah.
So added to the clout of the MBE. Thank you very much. We sort of are currying favour with quite a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that the big thing about the Brexpats in Spain, for example, and as you say, you're a properly constituted group, but it is the volume of knowledge that you have collectively accumulated over this past 2 years that really is the enormous value in this group, isn't it?
Absolutely. Don't think I mean, people will just message me or telephone me, and if I'm with my daughter, she'll say, "Why didn't they look it up on Google?"
I know.
I'm calling myself. I don't know everything, no, obviously, but we've become sort of amateur experts, let's say, or expert amateurs, I'm not sure what, via the experts that we do have. We've learned from them, and if we don't know, then we will find out for you. I never say no to anybody. I will never ever say I don't know.
But
so please don't. You know, you're going to be.
I do this an enormous amount of time. You know, I've accumulated a lot of knowledge about what happens in the council, but very often something comes up and I just don't know the answer to it, but I know someone who does.
That's it. And you've got to be very honest about it. You've got to be very honest about it, Bill. And I'm sure people respect the honesty by you saying, I used to do it with my students at university. Mrs. Hernandez, do you know this, that, and the other? I said, no, I don't. What do you think I am? I don't know everything. I'm not Einstein, but well, no, none of the other teachers tell us that. And I said, well, I'm so sorry, but no, I don't know, but I will certainly find out for you. Or there's a very interesting point. There's your homework for next week.
Look it up. Yeah, we've all done that.
You come back and tell me. That's it. But no, I mean, you know, we're here to help is all I can say. And we will never, ever turn anybody down. We'll do our absolute best. I mean, it's in my nature, I'm afraid. I don't know the word no. I will just help people.
And I think the time is up for this evening. I think we've given people an awful lot of stuff to think about. And, you know, ladies, gentlemen, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this by catch up and you have questions about it, please don't hesitate to get in touch with myself or to get in touch with Anne, and we will answer your questions if we possibly can. Anne, thank you very much. Go and have another cold shower.
Thank you, Phil.
And I'm sure we will speak very soon.
I'm sure we will. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Anne.
Thank you. Night. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. We've had good listening in numbers tonight, and I know that a lot of people follow this from Facebook. So you know, please do get in touch with us, and please feel free to share this around so that you know people can ask questions and things when we're on the air. I wish you all very good evening. Almost a weekend, so have a great weekend. It's going to be in the 40s, we think, this weekend. So, you know, stay safe, stay cool, drink plenty of wine. I mean, water.
Hibernate.
Take care, everyone. Good night.